So with our practice orientation, we thought we'd do some videos that were kind of looking at other aspects, and the one that we wanted to do today and here is the working with our internal saboteur. And we all have an internal saboteur, right? And the internal saboteur is the part of yourself that tells yourself that you're not good enough and you're not worthy and you're not who you should be and blah, 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 and you can't do that and you shouldn't do that and all kinds of things. And so it's how do we work with that internal saboteur? Because oftentimes we are so connected to it that it is self. And remember, when we're doing our practice, it's, if we're not self-reflective, anything that kind of comes up for us is an automatic behavior. There's no consciousness and we do not think about it. And so we have a tendency to just become that. And in order to begin to understand what that is, we need to separate ourselves from it. So that that internal saboteur is not me, it's just this part of me that's programmed in. It's a part of my programming. Now, I've been reading kind of old classic books lately and kind of seeing where some of these concepts actually came in, because I've used this as an idea of how do we separate that for a long time. And as I went back and read Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, which is a classic book, what the main character in that book did was he had a mental health issues, and he just named that mental health issue Phaedra. And then he did this motorcycle trip with Phaedra being his buddy and having these elongated dialogues with Phaedra. And that's kind of what we want to do with our own internal saboteurs, is give them a name, all right, and be able to separate ourselves from them. And it used to be, for years and years, what I would do with people is say, okay, well, why don't you name, all right, your internal saboteur? But then when you have a lot of clients, it's hard to remember what the name of the internal saboteur is. And so eventually what I did was decided, okay, well, let's just call them all Louie, or if you're female, Louise. Now, by the way, this is an interesting one. Sometimes your internal saboteur, if you're a woman, can be a male's voice, and sometimes if you're a male, it can be a female voice. Very interesting. So you get to change gender at will. So the idea of, if we have Louie here and I'm over here, now I'm self-reflective and I can observe this and I can choose whether I want to reinforce Louie or not. And remember, Louie's been very useful for us, because if we think we're unworthy or we can't do it, or we create then adrenaline energy, we create fear, and then that may be our motivation that goes out. So we study harder for the test, we get more worried about our businesses, and we bring that kind of contracted energy, and that's the Louie. So how do we make friends with Louie? This is somebody that probably has been a major part of your success. And what we're suggesting is, how do we loosen our attachment to that so that we can actually come from different sources of energy. Instead of having Louis where we are undermined and we're not good enough and we're caught in all of these syndromes, can we, instead of using adrenaline energy, can we use an energy that comes with a sense of confidence? I'm okay. I'm good at what I do. I'm here because I have a journey that I'm going through, and it's just as legitimate as anybody else's journey. And we all built Louis. Our parents helped us. Okay? We all have Louis that's still heavily in control. To make friends with your Louis. Begin to start to see him with a sense of humor. And begin to be conscious about choosing whether you need to go into Louis mode. And remember, it's an automatic mode. Most of the time you won't really remember that you're in Louis mode until you're already in Louis mode, and then you go, oh, woo, here I am again in contraction and anxiety, and how do I... And it's not as easy as just breathing into confidence until you learn to make it that easy, and that's a practice. And to go from this incredible energy that's contracted, this energy that we're unworthy, that we're not good enough, that we can't do it, that energy, we can begin to loosen our attachment to it. And we shift energy space. We be compassionate to ourselves and to everybody else, because we all have our Louis. I don't care how successful you are. I don't care how much you've done. You have a Louis too. I just had a visit from mine. Was that any good?